Hey guys, this is KSP with Tape, and today you join me for episode 29 of KSP Road to Exploration, and today we start with a very important launch. This is the Ares 4, which is probably a bit of a confusing name, because the Ares 1 is that little spacecraft that takes 3 people from Kerbal to the space station. Ares 2 is that little spacecraft I use from taking people to the space station to orbit Minmus and the Moon. And Ares 3 was that experimental Dragon 2 vehicle, which I'm still kind of developing. But this is Ares 4, which was built after the Ares 3, but is being launched before it. But yes, this is the replacement for the Ares 2, being launched atop a Pulsar 4 vehicle. And it is a nuclear-powered vehicle for, going to orbit of the Moon and Minmus, because I can get much more Delta V with a nuclear engine for less fuel, sort of thing. It's not actually that much less fuel, because this doesn't just take 3 people, it takes 7, so yeah. But yeah, here we are heading up to the station. Looks like everything should be good, because I'm a little low on Delta V in this second stage, because it's such a heavy vehicle. I had to take a bunch of fuel off it, and it's so tall it doesn't actually have a nose cone. But yeah, here we are just reusing the Pulsar 4 first stage, and I'm finally taking the advice of very smart people and putting the fuel in their bottom tank when I come back so it doesn't flip out. I don't know why I never thought of that, of just transferring the fuel rather than reconfiguring the tanks, and hopefully we'll have a successful landing, unlike the recent Falcon 9 landing, which hit the barge a little hard, but they've landed 4, so yeah. Anyway, it's about to fall over, so I quickly recover it, because you can recover things really quickly, because it's KSP. And we're just going to flick back to orbit and try and push ourselves as far into orbit as possible with the second stage. But I'm starting to think that we're not going to get into orbit, which is fine because we have a bunch more Delta V, but also not fine because that means that second stage will land on the other side of the planet and we will get hardly any money back for it, which means it's a very expensive mission. Yes, this is really pushing the limits of my launch capabilities right now. But yeah. So I actually decide that I'm going to get so little money back from that second stage, I'm not even going to try and reuse it, because it's just going to make maneuvering into the station more difficult. So yeah, I'd get like 800 back for it. I'm currently on like 2 million funds, but I'm saving up for 3 million to get the new science center, which I desperately need for various reasons. Just finishing a cup of coffee because I don't plan things well. But yeah, here we are, just moving to the station, doing my standard thing. I'm in front of it, so I need to increase my orbital period so that I'll take longer to come back around, so that I will basically slow down effectively and reach the station. So here we are, just heading on. Lucky to have all of this liquid fuel. We've already used quite a bit. We've used 60 units. I didn't fill one of the tanks because, again, very heavy vehicle. And I don't really have the launch vehicles for this, and yeah, never even had a nose cone because it was literally at the very height of the top height I could possibly have. But here we are at the station. I'm just slowing down, and I will maneuver in with the RCS thrusters. I actually don't have a huge amount of monopropellant on this spacecraft, which may be kind of short-sighted, but it'll be fine probably. So yeah, we're just going to use the nuclear engine because it's far more efficient, but I guess you should really use your low efficiency fuel first because it's heavier and useless. But yeah, I quite like how this looks with those kind of nose cones surrounding the engine. It's got all the things it needs. It's got tons of life support in that service bay, and it has 2 non-broken solar panels. But yeah, you can see the Ares 2 up there on the left. That is what this is replacing. The Ares 2 is going to be repurposed to be part of the Mooner station, which will be cool. I should just finish my coffee. Anyway, while we're waiting for that to be useful, I'm going to research survey scanners. I sent a little bit of science back from the station. It's constantly researching. And yeah, I'm going to research science tech, which allows me to get survey scanners, which allows me to look for ore. I also have a mission to put a satellite in a polar orbit of the Moon, which is really good because that's where I need to be to look for ore. And also I get paid to put this up, which is good. So, just going to purchase that, and just maybe grab a few of these. Might as well. There's kind of all-in-one scanning modules and a water scanner. I'm not really sure what that's for. I guess maybe you can mine water. And a magnetometer, why not? We always need a magnetometer, and the orbital mass detector was no money, so I decided to research that. But yes, talking of survey scanning, that is what we are doing right now. Atop a Pulsar 2 vehicle, we are launching 3 satellites, actually. One that will be bound for the Moon to scan for ore, so that we can actually put down a mining base, so that we don't have to ship fuel out to the Moon, because that's very inefficient from Kerbal to the Moon. You know how little fuel I can get into low Kerbal orbit, so yeah. And it also has a couple of little low orbit communication satellites, my LOCs, my LOCs. They help me, communicate, because I'm using remote tech, so I need communication satellites. But yeah, because it's such a light payload, we're going really fast, so I decided to do the boost back burn instead of a slow down burn later, which means I'll get my first stage a little closer to the KSC, so I'll get a little more money back for it. But yeah, you can see I've just got these kind of 3 satellites kind of in line because they're so small. But yeah, these low orbit communication satellites are really good. And I'm burning really downwards so that I can flatten my trajectory quite a lot so that I have enough time to land the stage. And I'm just deploying all the things so that MOS-1 doesn't lose communications. MOS, of course, Moon Orbital Scanner, or something like... No, it's Moon Ore Scanner. So MOS-1. There probably won't be a MOS-2, so I should have just called it MOS. Anyway, yeah. So we're just going to watch this fall back. I've set the satellites, the parachutes to deploy at 500 meters up so that we have a little more time to get to the stage. And it touches down rather nicely. Take that, SpaceX! Yeah, a bit of a shame, but they've landed like 4 stages now. The engineers are probably thinking, oh, thank God we don't have to get another one of these in our hangar. Have you seen the pictures of the hangar with all the SpaceX landed stages on them? It's freaking ridiculous. I mean, it's getting really full. They're probably pretty glad they don't have to deal with this, and also crushed that they didn't land another stage. But yeah, so we're just going to set up all of this and send out our first communication satellite. It's going to go into a 150-kilometer orbit so that it's a little way from most of the satellites. And I'm checking all of the satellites to figure out what to name this, and this is indeed Lock 9. Because I have already 8 orbital low orbit communication satellites, along with my geosynchronous satellites, which provide slightly wider coverage, and a few of them have antennas which will allow me to communicate with the moon. And those very old Hawkeyes that were put up there a long time ago, which are still working, really. I should probably replace them at some point, but I have a very busy launch schedule, and a hell of a lot of things to do with that very troublesome MOHO mission, which you will see at the end of this episode. It will not play fair. Anyway, so we've got that into its right orbit, so we should probably set all of this up for deployment. And yeah, so this is the second one, Lock 10. I'm not bringing up so many of these anymore. I used to bring up 2 on every Ares 1 mission, which is my crew missions as a secondary payload, but I don't really need to do that anymore. So yeah, I'm just deploying the other solar panel on the MOS, and then sending this into its higher orbit so that it can help us communicate, and all of that good stuff. I should really get some longer range communication satellites in orbit, because I have a very patchy connection with deep space right now. I should really improve that, since I have so many things heading off into deep space these days. But anyway, yeah, it's time to, firstly land the second stage, and then send off the MOS-1 to go and scan for ore and do cool things and find out how we can mine fuel. I don't actually have the mining equipment right now. I have to upgrade my freaking science center, which is so expensive, and most of the missions I've accepted are for like other planets, so they'll take ages to complete, so maybe a little while, but I'm going to try it. Anyway, so yeah, we do our deorbit burn, but on deorbit we get this weird amount of drag. I blame MechJeb for having poorly calculated drag, and you can see it was all tilting the wrong way, but yeah, anyway, it worked out fine, nothing burned off, and we land gently on the ocean with a huge amount of fuel left, so I had to propulsively land. But yeah, we get that back, get like 8 grand or something, and yeah, just looking for the orbit we need to get to. So first thing to do is burn out towards the moon. We have about 1,800 meters per second, 1,600 meters per second of delta V on this spacecraft with its little monopropellant engine, and hopefully we will be able to maneuver into the correct orbit with that. I mean, hopefully. So yeah, here we are, heading off. Just my standard thing. I never plan maneuvers to the moon, as I'm sure you well know. I just kind of wait for it to come over the horizon and then burn, which is probably foolish because it's less accurate, but whatever. It's fine. So yeah, we're just going to pull it in here. And then I'm just kind of thinking what I should do. What I should be doing is... see, my initial plan was just to kind of pull myself into orbit here and then do an inclination change and get myself into the correct orbit to match, the one I've been sent to, put my satellite in. But I don't actually have enough delta V for this. Also, it's being rather troublesome. Additionally, I've actually got this the wrong way around. So yeah, I've got it totally backwards. So I'll be orbiting the wrong way around. But I do notice that before it actually comes in. So my actual idea is to get into orbit above the poles. So at least if I fail the mission, I'll be able to pull myself into, I'll still be in a polar orbit, so I can still use the scanner even if I fail the mission. And using this methodology, using this number of burns, I think I actually am within my delta V boundaries, which is quite nice. The other way I was doing it was just very foolish. I was too far away from the moon, I was doing my inclination changes in bad places, and yeah, but this should be about 200 meters per second within my delta V limits, so that's good. Yeah, it's nice to be able to just use lots of maneuver nodes. I am quite liberal with just loads of different maneuvers and planning them way ahead, because then I know what I'm doing, and you can see how messy my map looks with it, but yeah, whatever. So yeah, just doing our first burn to put us above the poles when we reach the moon, and I think that was pretty accurate. I can't focus on the moon though, so I don't know. I can focus on Minmus, but it really doesn't want me seeing the moon. I think there's something secret and evil going on there. Either that, or I have so many mods installed that it breaks a lot of things in weird ways. I think people often are like, oh my god, KSP, you're not working. It's like, dude, you have like a gajillion mods installed. But anyway, so here we are, falling behind the moon, but we should have enough electric charge. And we're going to pull ourselves into inclined orbit so that we can do our inclination change very high above the moon, which will be most efficient. Probably. I'm still getting to grips with orbital mechanics after all these years of playing KSP. Anyway, at this point, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just, changing a few things around to make sure I get into the correct orbit, because obviously there's some slight slip, But then I realize, oh my god, I'm going the wrong way, so I'm actually going to have to do a much bigger inclination change to put myself in the correct orbit. And I'm going to do it manually, because the maneuver nodes are pretty much useless for large inclination changes. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of manually do this and hopefully not screw everything up. But it is me, so I probably will screw everything up. But yeah, we're just going to do this. It's annoying because it's a little more delta V. It's quite a lot more delta V actually, because it's like, I think there's like 40 extra degrees to turn, which is a bit annoying. But it does look like I will be able to do this within my delta V limits. I know it's all a bit fast and jittery and you can't really see what's going on, but I think I will be about 100 meters per second within my delta V limits by doing this, which is good. This was a bit of a risky mission. I didn't put quite enough delta V on it, really. Well, no, I did, but I kept it kind of fine, just because I like to, I don't want to I hate having loads of fuel left in my probes. But yeah, it looks pretty good. We're just going to get ourselves into the orbit, so that we can pay for this mission. I think it pays like 60 grand or something, and that's good, because we don't want to be paying to put things in orbit, we want to be paid to put things in orbit. And yes, apparently that is the correct orbit, although to me it doesn't look particularly correct. Yeah, 53,000, and let's activate the survey scanner. And we find something, and we get 20 science out of that, apparently. Yes, we're looking at, I don't know what this is right now. I think it's dirt. I don't know what the fuck that is. I don't know what gypsum is, carbonite. I do know what carbonite is, actually. But I'm looking for ore, and here it is. Ore, apparently there's some, and it looks like there is a little bit right near our base, but this is all just kind of, there's a heat map setting that allows you to see how much ore is places, but I think there is a little bit of ore right near where we put our base, which is lucky. So yeah, I'm going to tab through all of these again. I don't know what these freaking are. Like minerals, red, substrate. What is this all for? If you do know, tell me what all of these mean. Give me a list. Give me a list and a description and exactly what they do and instructions. No, but anyway, so I'm going to put the heat map on so I can see exactly how much ore there is. And it does look like we're in pretty much the worst place for ore, but we might be able to get some at our base, so that should be good. We might be able to get fuel for missions, and if not, we'll just set up a different mining base, but that will be quite expensive, but in the long run it'll save money. So anyway, this is the Buzzard 2, which is headed for MOHO, the one that kind of took ages to burn its fuel because of the stupid arc jet thrusters, and apparently it wasn't actually on an escape trajectory, so I had to do a tiny little burn to put it on an escape trajectory, and then replan all the freaking maneuvers, which you can see here, because I've got to get right down to Mercury, and I've got to, not Mercury, MOHO. I get those confused so much. I don't really do it with the other planets. It's just Mercury, Mo. Anyway, so yeah, it looks like I've got a pretty close encounter. But the problem with this was obviously it took me so long to leave the system, and it's gonna take me, and it's taken me like 20 days to get to this maneuver. The MOHO is in such a bad position that I have to spend like 3,000 extra meters per second of delta V And I didn't benefit from the overbirth effect, so it's probably more like 4,000 just to get to MOHO. But my encounter velocity with MOHO will be much lower, so I should be okay. I'm actually thinking I might have enough delta V to get into orbit of MOHO and land. I should definitely be able to get into orbit, but landing may be a bit of a big butt. But yeah, so I've set that up. It looks like we will be able to get there, but that will be in a little bit because that's got 5 days to head out to its maneuver down to MOHO. So right now we are going to head off to Minmus with our new Ares 4. We're going to send the 2 Taurus down, and Val's going to pilot them out. I've got to grab a little fuel, so I'm just going to grab all of that. So you can see, just grabbing all the liquid fuel. This doesn't need oxidizer, obviously, because they're nuclear engines. But then, yeah, but then I have a bunch of leftover oxidizer. So what I do with that here is just put it all in, like, single tanks so that I know where all my oxidizer is, so that I can just ship up liquid fuel next time, so it'll be a little lighter. But yeah, anyway, so after planning maneuvers and fueling up and things, here we are, just about to head off to Minmus. These 2 Kerbals just want to fly by / orbit Minmus, and they're paying rather handsomely, although not quite as handsomely as I would like. And I was doing the maths the other day on fuel costs and, you know, only getting like 90% recovery bonuses when I recover my launch vehicles. And I'm starting to think that tourism isn't actually that profitable. But it's okay. And, you know, it pays for scientific missions. This won't be scientific. This is just flying past, testing out the Ares 4. I'm going to get so confused. There are too many vehicles with the same names. But yeah, so we're on the right path. We just need to do an inclination change. Not the ascending node, because that's takes more delta V. It's more precise, but I don't care about preciseness? Precision. Preciseness. Oh, God. Thank God I'm not an engineer or something. Software engineer? I don't need to know precision in software engineering, I guess. Floating point precision and stuff like that. Anyway, so yeah, just performing our first inclination change, but it will take long enough to get out to Minmus, because, you know, it's quite far away and we slow down a lot, that I will be able to do the my MOHO burn while this is heading up there. So yes, we are on a good path for Minmus now. Our Kerbals will be very happy. Our Taurus will be very happy, and obviously Val is always happy to come to space because, you know, well, come to Minmus because it's beautiful and looks like snacks, and Kerbals like snacks. I think that might be a bit overused now. But anyway, here we are leaving the Kerbin system with the Buzzard 2 headed for MOHO, our problematic space probe, and it doesn't get less problematic because I have to do a 3,000 meter per second burn. And if you remember from the last episode, I think it was the last episode, maybe the one before that, this can only use 2 of its engines at a 3rd thrust, so I get 2 kilonewtons of thrust on a pretty heavy spacecraft. I think it's like 3 tons. So my acceleration is, once I've figured everything out, is like 1/3 of a meter per second, which is not great. So yeah, you can just see I'm just trying to orientate my solar panels to get the best power so that I can use my engines most efficiently. But yeah, this is going to take a really long time. I started my burn half an hour before the maneuver node, which apparently would take 40 minutes, but that was at full thrust with 4 engines. So yeah, I think this in total took me like 3 hours of burning, but at 4 times time accelerate, that wasn't too bad. But yeah, so you can see how slowly this is going down. And in that top left window, you can see my current acceleration is 299.4 millimeters per second squared, which is not very not very accelerating. Anyway, a little later, you can see that my acceleration was increasing. I was like, what's happening? What are these magic thrusters? And I was like, oh yeah, my mass is decreasing. That's why my acceleration is decreasing. I thought they were like weird thrusters that spooled up for ages. But yeah, here's just another shot of me bringing my periaps down. Periaps down. You can see it's actually decreasing quite fast, but, well, it looks fast, but it's 11 billion meters, so it will take quite a while. And here we are, just like quite a while later, crossing the orbit of Eve, which is nice. I just took a few shots of this because it took so long. I didn't want to fill up my hard drive with footage, even though my hard drive is just for footage. Anyway. And here we are bringing it down a little more, but I think we lose signal in a bit, but that might be a little bit later. But yeah, we've burned through about half of the maneuver right now, which is pretty cool. It took me a while. You can see the node is in T plus 40 minutes, and I started at T minus 30 minutes, so that was about an hour and 10 minutes. But at 4 times time accelerate. But yeah, then I lose connection, which is a shame, because, you know, Kerbin's tracking station rotates out of my field of view, so I have no connection. But I get it back here, but it says my maneuver is back up to 3,000 meters per second of delta V, so I'm going to have to replan this, which is a little annoying. But it's fine, I just cancel that and bring it down till it looks roughly correct. Yeah, that's close enough. But again, it will just be a little less precise again, because I have to do another maneuver. And yes, this takes a while. Here's another shot a little later after 500 meters per second of delta V burned, and it has taken so long. I wanted to put in all these clips so you could get an idea. And yeah, here we are a little later, getting closer, ever closer. And I think this has been another hour of burning. So yeah, it took a while, but I just left it. And here we are, just about to finish off our maneuver. 200 meters per second of delta V left. This is actually not terrible. I thought it would be, and obviously long burns kind of boring, but I kind of enjoy just leaving them on. But yeah, if I designed this slightly better with just one arc jet thruster and a few more solar panels, this would be a very effective spacecraft, except for leaving the Kerbal system. But I probably would have just put a rocket booster on it, if I'd known. But yeah, a bit of a bit of a long mission. But I'm thinking that I should actually be able to get into orbit of MOHO, god damn it, and actually land. But yeah, we completed that burn after like 4 hours or maybe 3 hours of burning, something ridiculous. And yeah, now we just need to plot our fine tune, which is a large retrograde burn until we are in orbit of MOHO, which will be another 3,000 meter per second burn, but I will be able to burn at higher power because I'll be closer to the sun, so I'll have more electric charge available to me. So yeah, I'm just gonna you know, tweak this until I get close to MOHO, and I think orbital burn around the orbital insertion around MOHO is actually surprisingly low. Not this one because it's too high up. But yeah, anyway, so we should be getting to MOHO pretty soon. This is such a problematic mission, but that's the fun of it. You think arc jet thruster is magical, but no, it just requires a lot of electric charge, and you didn't bring enough solar panels. But yeah, anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you're looking forward to all the things. Maybe fuel mining bases, and maybe getting to MOHO, but who really knows at this point? This has been KSP with Tape. I will see you next time.